Hello, and welcome to another episode of Boom and Bust. I'm your host, Tony Clement, here at the News Forum, where all voices matter. Let's talk about grocery bills and why food is so expensive, plus other topics about our food. With us is Dr. Sylvain Charlebois. He is a professor and director of agri-food analytics at Dalhousie University in Halifax, and he is also the co-host of the Food Professor podcast. Welcome to Boom and Bust.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's great to have you aboard here, and I'm going to start off with the big question, front and center in the shop window. Why are food prices so high?
Yes, for the last several years, we've heard rumblings about cyclical factors, temporary factors, grocers abusing, for example, climate change, things like that. And I'm not excluding some of these factors, but I think a lot of Canadians have actually come to the conclusion in the last, I'd say, 12 months that our situation is structural, really. And compared to the US right now, if you compare the US with us, in the US, where you have a tenant in the White House really banking on tariffs, which would actually make everything else more expensive, their food inflation rate at the grocery store is at 1.9%. Ours is at 4.7%. Makes no sense. And
Yeah.
so that's why I think at some point we have to realize that some of the reasons, well, the main reasons that our food is more expensive, or at least our food inflation rate is higher, it's because of structural issues like, for example, interprovincial trade barriers, the industrial carbon tax, labor laws that really vary immensely between provinces, poor logistics. I mean, all of these things are making our food basket way more expensive in Canada compared to the US.
So it sounds like, from what you're saying, that a lot of these things are structural, as you say. They are years in the making because they are structural. So I'm not trying to play the blame game here, but how much of it is the culpability of government and the policies that they're pursuing?
Well, a good portion of it is due to the lack of vision that we have for the agri-food sector, certainly, and the unwillingness for Ottawa and provinces to do something about it. Now, there are some positive signs, like the Code of Conduct, which is being established right now as we speak. It started on January 1st. That will harmonize things across the supply chain, especially between suppliers and grocers. Grocers have a tremendous amount of power. They're the gatekeepers. They're the ones deciding what you and I get to have access to at the grocery store. And we are expecting the grocery code of conduct to democratize things a little bit more, allowing smaller players to penetrate the market. So that's certainly one thing that is likely to change over time. But generally speaking, I do think that we have failed to really recognize that we have some really important points to discuss as a country to actually make our food basket more affordable, because we don't have the luxury of having population density. We have a large territory to cover. So there are many provinces, many territories, many regions that are underserved, really. And I'm starting the Atlantic, of course, excluding the North. I can think of the prairies, the Atlantic. Quebec and Ontario are in a different place because there's just more competition, more population density, but still food costs are much higher than what you would find in other major cities in the US.
And so that part of that is, again, you mentioned supply chains. We've got to have a more robust supply chain. Is that right?
Exactly. And so the other big elephant in the room, and I'm sure you can appreciate that this is something that Ottawa avoids to talk about, it is supply management. Supply management actually contributes to interprovincial trade barriers that we have to face because quotas are managed by provinces. And I've been asked several times by politicians in Ottawa if there is one thing you could do to make supply management less of a barrier to actually stabilize wholesale prices, especially for dairy,
Right.
I would say let's harmonize the allocation of new quotas nationally and not
Right.
let provinces do that work. But if you do that, of course, Quebec will come after you. So that's why we're not talking about it.